work session of the Yuma Union High School District Number 70 Governing Board to order. You'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence led by Ms. Mellon.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in a moment of silence for the passing of Dr. Robert Cannell, community pediatrician, Yuma Union High School Board District member, Crane Board District member, senator, and a hero to our community.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, Shelley. Okay, first item is Somerton High School project discussion and security design workshop with the governing board DLR group in Arcata. Ms. Thompson, you want to lead us in on this?
Yes, thank you, President Townsend, governing board members, and guests. Very excited this evening to have this work session to discuss and go over plans that were kind of where we are at this date for the new high school in Somerton. We look forward to the SFB meeting coming up on December 9th. And we are very hopeful with our data, and we're just sending all our good vibes for approval of our funding model. But tonight, regardless of that, our business goes on, and it takes a lot of planning for any great work to happen. So really excited to have this meeting led tonight by Carmen Wyckoff from DLR and her team. And we also have, thanks to the governing board, planning principal with us in the room, Mr. Irby. So very excited to have everybody, and we'll have everybody introduce themselves as Carmen sees fit. So I am just so glad to hand the meeting off to her right now. So welcome, thank you for joining us, and thank you for this opportunity for the governing board to interact. And just a reminder, this is a work session. So the purpose is to interact, and that's why we had it this way, so that we could talk and ask questions as related to design. And I also want to call attention to the fact that how pleased I am and how fortunate we are to be at this place in construction where you actually see safety and security on an agenda before a building is built. Been doing this a long time, and it always seems like it's an afterthought, and safety and security, as important as everybody says it is, it's always the most expensive thing to do. There is no additional funding for extra safety and security, and to retrofit is almost an impossible task anyway. So lots of moving parts, and that's why we continue to be really, really thankful that DLR Group, especially Carmen, is the lead on this particular phase. So thank you for being here, and I'm turning this on.
Well, Carmen has allowed me to go first. She did give me permission.
You're pretty great too.
President Townsend, board members, Superintendent Thompson. My name is Lucky Arvizo, and I am the planning principal for Somerton High School. And I want to thank again and echo what Ms. Thompson said. Thank you for being here to go over this work session here about the exciting new high school development in Somerton. We're extremely excited, and I know a lot of work has been going on prior to me being named planning principal, but DLR and Arcata say they've been getting me up to speed. Carmen and Ryan and Bill have been doing an outstanding job of saying, hey, Mr. Arvizo, this is what we got going on, this is where we're going. And tonight we're going to focus a little more on the security and safety of the design. And like I said before, we've had some exciting conversations, and hopefully we'll get some good results from the facilities board next month. And at this time, what I want to kind of go over is a little agenda that we'll kind of follow, and it's a project update outline. So we'll talk about a schedule update, and then what we've heard, and actually Carmen did some focus groups that she'll actually talk about. We'll go over the design update, and then where the workshop, where the interaction really comes into play, is the safety and security workshop, and then at the end, we'll have some questions. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Carmen.
Thank you, Mr. Arvizo. My name's Karen Wyckoff. With me is Ryan Schmidt, from the DLR Group, and of course Bill from Arcadis. You've made a lot of difficult decisions in the last 6 months, and I know you have a bunch more to come. And during this time, I have found I really like to count my blessings. And one of my blessings is being able to think about this beautiful new school, to think about the future and not worry about tomorrow. And so I'd like for tonight, us all to think about 2 or 20 years out and ask a lot of questions, please. Ryan and I and Bill have been working really hard, so we should have more answers for you than last time. But I do want it to be interactive, so I'm not a public speaker, I'm an architect, so please interrupt us anytime. As you see here on the timeline, we have been very busy at work. As you know, last year we did a master plan that was more focused on the site. Now we're starting to dive into the building. And it really has been wonderful to work with Ms. Thompson and her staff, but also the students at Kofa that happen to have summer access. They were one of our major focus groups and a real fun one for that. So today we're going to come forward with a quick update, ask all the questions you'd like, but I'd really like to first focus on what's important to us as architects, is to hear from your educators, your admin, and your students. So we actually would have loved to spend a whole week here on campus, but, life happens. So we did have a full day of Zoom interactions, actually Google Meets interactions. Mr. Sharp very nicely lined up students who were incredibly interactive and very respectful and engaged. It was really fun. We also met with educators from Kofa High School, in particular ones that work in Building 4. As you know, that was one of the buildings the DLR Group designed about 3-4 years ago. We were very curious to see what was working and what wasn't working. And we encouraged them to be honest, and they were, Ryan, they were honest. Yeah. But we had some really good feedback, and we'll share a little bit of that tonight. So, that Kofa 4 feedback, the biggest thing we did that we thought was very effective was this thing called Keep, Toss, Create. So just so you know, we were on a platform called Mural. So we're in Google Meets so we can see each other. But Mural is like an online whiteboard. So we had photos from around Kofa's campus, the indoor, the outdoor areas, and each person drugged photos into what they liked, what they wanted to toss, and then they had little post-its on what they wanted created. So this was a really interactive outcome. We spent an hour with these teachers. And really their keeps boil down to definitely marker board space, collaboration space for their students. They really like the folding walls so that teachers can team teach and learn from mentor teachers. So that was pretty effective. They did not as much like the floor to ceiling glass because they found it distracting. And some had the acoustics coming out of the bathrooms were not huge lights. But they did like being able to see into the bathrooms and see what was going on. So there was a trade-off there. Then we later went and chatted with your students. And please, feel free to unmic if you have any questions as we go. Our icebreaker was give yourself advice on your first day of your freshman year. And a couple of them were freshmen, but they were like, yeah, I've learned a lot in the last 2 months. I just love these, don't be shy. Don't be afraid to be yourself. Each student was pulling over Post-its in this mural, this online marker board. So you can see there, just don't be afraid came up over and over and over. And get involved. And I know your students are very involved in both activities and in CTE courses. The next, we did an activity called Future of Teaching and Learning, and this is on a spectrum. Do you want your classes to be more focused or more group teaching? And what would you like in the future? So as you see now, all the blue dots are where the students felt they are now. The red dots are where they think they want to go. What is interesting is we do this over the years. This is the first year students have said, I don't want individualized learning anymore. I want group learning. So I think that was very much a reaction to the last 6 months, that they're craving just being with each other. It's kind of heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time, to be honest. They really love the flexible schedules, and Ms. Thompson's advisory committee that we've met with a couple times has really mentioned how, you know, students have become more active participants in how they handle their own education. And many have risen to the task of self-management and being more flexible. So what are the good things we can take from that and build around them? And what are the things that students just, I don't think if they ever saw a Google Meets meeting again, they'd be happy without it, right? And our final exercise was starting to tie education into architecture a little more. So as you see, we gave examples of classrooms that were more closed in versus classrooms that were like wide open, free for all. About furniture that was what I all grew up with versus sort of a Starbucks loungy furniture. And as you can see there with the dots, a lot of your students really voted on kind of a middle ground, you know? It's funny, you think students all want Starbucks and PlayStations, but when it comes down to it, they're sort of in the, we want something a little more innovative, but they don't want to totally lose what school is. And I think the library code's a great one of that. The student really said, you know, I want it to be a little more innovative, I want it to be interesting, but not too much, because she really loves reading books and having that traditional aspect. So I believe your students have a very balanced point of view, which is really interesting. And we had them think about, you know, if this was your little kid, sister or brother, or even your kid, like, let's think 20 years in the future. And it was really cool to watch them do that. Do you have any questions about the student feedback? You know, that's a lot of data in one place.
Carmen, I wanted to kind of clarify, and these students that you had the focus group, they resided in Somerton, correct?
Yes. They were all currently attending Kofa. They were 9th to 12th graders, so we had a wide variety, but they all had Somerton addresses.
I have a question. In your experience doing this with other school districts and other buildings, is this the sort of the gold standard of how you come up with your concepts, or is this something new that you just?
We found it to be a very proven way to get a lot of different feedback. We love doing it in person, obviously. But actually I found, especially with the Kofa teachers, usually we like to follow a student for like a day or two and kind of see how their classes work and what doesn't work. But I found those teachers, once they warmed up to us, were really expressive and really straightforward in their answers. And I think Ryan and I both gained a lot of information on how they use the spaces. Yeah, welcome. We have a really, I don't know how other architects do it because I think this is the right way to do it, but we have a really collaborative approach and we like all the voices in the room. This is just one sample of it. We had a bunch more activities. We also had activities with teachers in their first 3 years because I know teacher retention or teacher recruitment is a big thing I hear about at your board meetings. And those teachers, their advice is, you know, get to know the other teachers, find a mentor. You know, it doesn't even have to be in your subject. Just find a mentor and connect with them. Great advice like try out your keys before the first day. You know, so it was kind of cool to listen to them. They had one that says, the kids won't eat you, don't worry. The other takeaway I had, and I'm sorry the other major takeaway I had with your teachers is they are so resilient. I cannot imagine going through one day of Google Meets. I cannot imagine being a teacher right now, and they just had such enthusiasm and took it so seriously. You're so blessed. Yeah, that's an aside. They just wowed me. I was amazed. So here's a site plan. I think it's starting to get a little more familiar. Bill has, I'm also blessed that Bill gets to be in the negotiations with the city while I get to draw pretty pictures. But Bill's been leading that up and making great progress along with Ms. Thompson's staff. But as you see here, you know, not much has changed. The visitor staff parking still on the north, the student parking on the south, the fields to the south. Some easy after-school access to gym areas or a future theater performing arts center. But generally architectural practice to separate sort of the after-hours activities from the main campus so that Jay and his staff don't have to keep the campus open all hours of the day. New stuff. What have we been up to? So I'm not going to bore you with the spreadsheet we have of every single space down to the bathroom that we need in the school, but Mr. Arvizo has gotten to enjoy that spreadsheet. And we've gone through all of your class schedules. We analyzed Gila Ridge, we analyzed San Luis, for examples, and then we worked backwards from that on how many periods a day are they in use, and you know, the CTE classes, how many periods a day are they in use, so that we really knew when we have full build out, we can have the 1,600 to topping out at 1,800 squeezed in students that we wanted to target. So we got all the math behind it. And then we started here on the bubble diagram, kind of laying out how those spaces could work. And our layouts really depended a lot on our teacher feedback. One of the feedbacks was not being silent, you know, being in kind of a smaller learning community where you got to know the other teachers, you got to know your mentors, you got to know kind of your core students. We also spoke a lot about CTE and how amazing, you don't know unless you go to like the state conference like I did, you guys are the powerhouse. I mean, like you walk in and it's like the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s. It's just crazy. So, we love to showcase that, and working with Ms. Thompson and Lori, we really created a small learning community that then surrounds CTE, and we kind of call it the jewel, you know, the on display part of learning. And then on the south side, if you notice, are all those after hours activities, the louder activities, right, the messier activities, those sorts of things, so that they're clustered on the southern side. And in the middle is kind of this collegiate courtyard that we want to build on. Get a lot of outdoor learning. So I'll quickly walk you through this, and I'm especially going to walk you through it because we have a few questions about safety and security. So I want you to kind of get the general idea of the building layouts. Like I said, you know, we have 4 small learning communities. So if you look at just one of them, the pink space in the middle is kind of CTA or CTE. Knowing how many CTE projects you have every 5 years, we're looking at that being a super open, flexible, pretty much a warehouse. So at this time, it could be business and ag science. You know, 5 years from now, it could be drones and cloning sheep. I don't know. So Diane's got to approve all this. But we're trying to create those as very flexible areas, and then surrounded by classrooms so that all the students get to see what's going on in CTE, get excited and interested in careers. We spent more time on bathrooms than any other area of the building. It does come into the safety and security though. Bathrooms are a major headache sometimes on campuses, and we have nearly all of our bathrooms face out to the courtyard so that a couple security guards can really see during passing periods or during classes when kids pop out to use the restroom. Hey, they popped out and it's been a while, like, what's going on there, right? So we did talk a lot about that. The admin is kind of in the center, and so that's one of the things we're going to focus on tonight is, you know, when, as a parent, when you're coming in to visit somebody or when you're grabbing your kid from the nurse, what does that look like? How does that approach work? Do you have any questions? I feel like I'm throwing a lot at you at once. Is this about the level of deep dive you would like, or are there any questions about the building?
Can I interject one thing?
Yes.
So the district tasked us initially with looking at full build out of the campus. So we might be looking 10 or 15 years down the road here. There's parts of this building, and we'll know more kind of once we get the SFP's word on funding of how much of this we can actually build. So this is looking way down the road, and we'll be able to better understand what we're actually going to get in this project here in December.
Thank you. That's a really big caveat. So tonight we do want to look at safety and security. There's actually, ever since Columbine, Sandy Hook, everything down the line, there's been a renewed focus on safety and security. And there's actually a group of educators and architects that come together. Ryan and I are both members of it, specifically focused on the intersection between education and buildings and how buildings can help you. And so this group has come up with SEPTID principles. That's crime prevention through environmental design. It's thinking about what few moves we can do as architects that can help Mr. Arvizo and you down the line in your safety and security approach. So there are three major areas of SEPTID principles, and these have been run by Homeland Security, by the sheriffs. There's been a lot of working groups that come into kind of these bullet points. Definitely the ability, some of them are no-brainers, right? If you've ever been in a school, the ability to supervise students, have really good sight lines. Ms. Thompson was constantly reminding us where every alley or nook or cranny could be in the school. Exterior and interior lighting. Again, if you've ever been in a neighborhood that didn't make you feel safe, a lot of times it is the amount of light and the ability to see anybody around you. Windows and visibility along the same lines. The pendulum swings back and forth, and for a while everybody wanted bumpers, but now everybody's talking a lot more about visibility and how quickly can you clear a building if you're the sheriff coming in. How quickly can you see what's going on if there's like a first aid emergency. And then also, knock on wood, those catastrophic things are 1 in 1,000. The other 999 are the little safety issues, the little bullying, things like that may go on at a school. And so visibility is really key along with this adult occupied areas throughout the building to help work on those 999 things out of 1,000. And so with that, I'd like Mr. Arvizo to really talk about how that might look on the campus for right now.
Thanks, Donna. So as you can see there in the surveillance C and B scene, Carmen mentioned that sight lines, and the way the design is, especially with the courtyard, you see the gold stars there, and those are individuals that can be standing there and have good sight lines. Again, restrooms having outside access instead of inside access, it's much easier to monitor restroom activity if restrooms have outside access and inside access, and that's what this design entails. Also, the blue stars there are adult spaces. So aside from the classrooms, we have adults spread out throughout the campus, which is done on purpose from that standpoint also. So overall, the sight lines, the way it is designed, is advantageous from that standpoint to keep our students and our staff safe. So again, if there's any questions or interactions, by all means, go ahead and ask. Yes.
So the way that this is set up with the adult spaces, I like to understand that there's really no one faculty room like the old days.
Right, correct. So I mean, we have small collaboration areas for teachers, but as far as a big faculty room, there may be a little faculty room for eating next to the cafeteria. Things of that nature. I don't know if you want to add to that.
That's exactly it. We have faculty dining near the cafeteria, but then other spaces are spread out. So we heard that from the teachers.
So Mr. Arvizo, is there a space where you can get your entire staff together for a meeting?
Well, depending on the amount of teachers that we have, we can either do it in the cafeteria or we can do it in the auxiliary gym,
Okay.
which is what we do, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Any other questions? No?
Very impressive.
Yeah.
There are 2 more areas of SEPTID principles that we'd like to talk about tonight. One is access control. And this is one, as an architect, I can just bring you suggestions, and you'll see those in the packet, and that's going to be the main point of the workshop. It's not a decision. It's not a decision I can make, because it's really a community one. Where is the balance between security and openness? How do your parents or teachers feel about coming to the school? and what would make them feel safe and what would be off-putting. And that's really where we need a lot of feedback from you. And then the final piece of septic is the human factor. And that's where Ms. Thompson and Mr. Aviso will develop over the next few years. And that's, the safety drills, what's the protocols, where do card readers go, all those sorts of things that are the human factor. Don't pop open your door, things like that. That'll come later. So today, we're really gonna focus on access control. And there are two pieces of that. One is safety and security as we approach the whole campus. And the other one is community entry during the school day. Now, as we prepared, Ryan and I were chatting, I had a boss once tell me, never bring anything to the school board that you don't think is a good idea. So I will tell you now, there's no wrong answers. Well, we have three choices, and it really is, there's no gotcha here, right? There's no wrong answers. The first is it's a continuum. A, B, and C is sort of a continuum. And I put in pictures, I think attractive pictures of how each one could turn out. One is obviously, you've got 50 acres. You could put in a fence that fences in all 50 acres. And that's got some pros of being able to get to your fields really easily within the perimeter. It's got some cons, including the cost of fencing. Another one we've done is really high gates between buildings. As you see there, it's kind of a pretty approach, but it's definitely not something you can jump over. And then we've got ones that are kind of lower gates between buildings, where it's a little more of an implied line in the sand rather than a full tight security gate. And I'd love Mr. Aviso to talk about, he and I have been chatting a lot about how that would look on your campus. And then I want to open up for a lot of feedback from you.
Yes, so here's A, B, and C. And so A is a fully fenced perimeter. And I'm gonna hold my opinion until everybody considers as far as what I would like. So we got fully fenced perimeter, and actually, the parking lot, the north parking lot is above where that blue star is. So I think if we can run the fence up above that parking lot, I think would be better, but I'll explain here in a little bit. So that's option A. Option B is to just go ahead and put gates in the openings. Since the design is a courtyard, it has certain openings here, and we can just enclose the school with gates in those areas and leave the perimeters open with some gates where the parking is at. And that star there is kind of a checkpoint as far as when they're coming in during the school day into the campus. And then the other one is with low gates. That's where the dotted areas are, but very similar to B, but with low gates instead of high gates. So based on those options, I kind of want to leave it open and seeing what you guys, your thoughts, before I kind of let you know about my thoughts. Any thoughts regarding the different options?
Currently in our schools have some of these options in place.
So, and from what I've seen is that our schools are entirely fenced in, the perimeter, except for maybe Yuma High. Yuma High is not entirely fenced in.
Or is it not fenced in?
Well, you can go directly into the building.
Yeah, but there's gates.
Right, there's gates.
But it's not
gates are-
fenced around.
Okay, yeah, okay. But there's gates or fences at every.
Yes.
They're not, Yuma High is an example where it's not fenced in out of the perimeter. It's kind of pulled back.
So, pull back. But I believe all the other schools have perimeter gates.
I don't believe Kofa does.
It doesn't,
Yeah.
it's not.
Kofa's like the entire,
The
all the way
entire-
around.
yeah,
South
all the way
Side.
around.
Yeah, right.
Once you get into the campus, it's all wide open, but the
Right.
perimeter itself is chain link
Yeah.
mostly.
That does remind me, thank you, that there's also this idea of rings of security. People talk about like layers of an onion. So A, B, and C are not exclusive of each other. You know, there can be a lower outside fence if low is a good, like, the look you want for your community. And then as you come closer, the fences get higher or more secure. So like, you can do kind of levels of security as you might approach a school. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
You know, one of the things before as in regard to the fully fenced in site is how much of a community event center is the high school going to be?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because if it's fully fenced in, you're going to limit access. Somebody's going to have to be there if, you know, you're sharing it with the city for city events or something like that. So that would create an additional staffing issue.
Right.
But, you know, overall, I kind of like the idea. Security is extremely important. The fully fenced in site with a combination of the low gates between the buildings.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Then you've got that second layer of access. If you do have a community event in the softball fields, they still don't have access into the
Correct.
buildings area.
Yeah, and what I like about the fully fenced perimeter, and I know in my year, I get hey, that's $75 linear foot, $75 linear foot, right? But I think from a security standpoint, during a school day, it's easier to control access of who's coming in and who's.
Well, if you're practicing on the softball field, we still want the student security.
Right, exactly.
$75 linear foot isn't expensive if you've got children in danger.
I agree. And I think, and again, just like Ryan said, this picture here is a future build out. This is a total build out, right? But from my understanding is that the fields and everything are going to be run by and maintained by the school district, right? So all that is maintained by the school district. So I think even at that point, having a fully fenced in.
Conversely, that also allows for more areas for graffiti.
Correct.
More areas for what? I'm sorry.
Graffiti,
Oh, graffiti.
yes.
Right.
It also, I mean, just a liability of what's happening when nobody is on campus is, I think, an exposure. Also.
Can we get the insurance company to pay for the additional security?
I don't think so.
Right.
So wait, are you saying for the first phase, it could be like the lower and then we build out the around, is that what you're saying, or?
Well, and again, obviously, we gotta see what the budget is, but,
Yeah.
but I would like to be fenced in as much as possible. Just so we, you know, when school starts, we have, you know, an opening, you know,
Yes.
security checkpoint, so, you know, anybody that's coming on campus, we know who's coming on campus, versus having it open and anybody can park anywhere and go in the campus.
And that's something I think we as the board would prioritize, or, you know, how we wanted that phased in as we got closer.
Yeah.
Mr. Russo,
Yes.
where would PE class be during the day? That might be something people take into consideration. Like if I want to use if I want to use the fields,
Right.
and during the school day, I would be down in the athletic field section, right?
Correct. Yeah, so that's another good point, right? Is PE being down there. During the day.
So I think that hindsight is 20/20, and if we look at our buildings, our school buildings, even just around our town, that have been around for a really long time, I think the move has been to fully enclose, sort of wrap around our school with the first layer of security. And I think it would behoove us to do that the first time around, rather than go back and say, oh, no, we should have done this. That's my opinion.
Even worse than that would be to have an incident, say we should have done. Correct. I think it's just awful we have to do all this, but we have to. And there's no use going halfway. I think we have to do the whole thing. And I like Phil's idea of the shorter fences inside.
Inside, yes.
I don't like those tall fences.
Right.
They just look awful. It's gonna look bad enough. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But it's a nice, it's just a little bit better with lower fences inside.
Yeah,
That's my opinion.
I agree. The lower fences, more aesthetically, will look better.
Are we talking about the outer perimeter fence being such as in the picture, so it's not so institutional looking?
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
And like I said, I would prefer that the north side, the top part, the fence to be inside of that parking lot as well, to enclose the parking lot.
So what is a positive about that suggestion, Mr. Arvizo, is once you're past the Blue Star and you're into the visitor parking lot, you now have a really inviting entrance, where you can, the building's just there on the street kind of for you, and instead of being right behind a fence. There is that welcoming, right? Once you get past the Blue Star, now you're like, wow.
Once you get past the dog in the garden.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Once you get past the gatehouse. Excellent, thank you.
Any other, Dave?
No, I listen to, I like the A, which is the full perimeter, like you were mentioning. I think that's, I like the idea of fencing everything for it. I think, yeah. So what you were mentioning is this, probably, I think, the best way. That's what I think.
All right, and then we go to the next page. So say everything was fenced in, they got in through the security checkpoint where they're parking the visitors. So the next decision there is the entrance of the lobby. One of the things that we can do is, how Gila Ridge is set up, how they have, during the school day, they have that fence that goes there. There's only entrance through the admin and exit through the admin. So we're thinking of something similar to that. At the same time, make it inviting with the doors maybe towards the front instead of to the side. The doors in the front as you walk in, some double doors, and try to make the lobby inviting as possible.
So along those lines, I would like to point out that the nurses towards the front, and I know one of your questions last time was about COVID, obviously on all of our minds. So we do have a few tweaks to the nurse since COVID has happened. For example, an isolation exam room as well as a normal exam room, so that a student can have negative air pressure and basically vacuum out that room more or less and send it to the outside. We also have a door. This layout allows for a door straight in from the parking lot, which can be a great thing for safety and security. If a student did either get hurt and first responders can go straight to that door and take them out, or if there was a bullying incident, now they're not kind of on display going out through the lobby, they can kind of quietly exit the building. So those sorts of things, the nurse has become a bigger priority lately. We've also planned for 2 restrooms in the nurse. I know 5 years ago in Arizona, nobody talked about gender neutral anything, but having an extra bathroom in the nurse gives everybody the safety and security of going to a different restroom if they really need to. So those are the kind of the little things that we're already talking about even at this stage. So the 3 choices we have on this one, and again, there are no wrong answers.
Carmen, I am
Yes.
so sorry. Can we
Yeah,
Can we
please.
go back to the ABC fencing?
Yeah.
Mr. Arvizo, in your mind, and when you mentioned Gila Ridge, I was just thinking about that. So in your mind, you have one point of entry if we put the fence up at the top to the north, correct? Around the parking lot. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just thinking about the traffic flow, and I know it's early yet, but would that also be the point of exit? So if I come in and then and security lets me into the parking lot, is that the same place? And I asked the question because I think for you as a principal, I think with those two, with the entry and the exit or the, whatever they are, the two sides of Gila Ridge, it's really hard to monitor and manage, with a staffing model. So it would almost require, it does require, if you're gonna be fully secure, that you have 2 security guards, and we don't have that. So I just wanted to put that on the radar as far as the point of entry, whatever the decision is.
Yeah, good point. And yeah, that was my thought is that Blue Star there with a checkpoint would be, and during the school day would also be the entrance and exit that they go out.
Okay.
I think there, and Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but to the east, there's gonna be a road for exit road out to Cesar Chavez, right? Everybody's there, so when school, before school starts and after school starts, we'll open those gates and then flow. Right?
And then during the school day, the Cesar Chavez Road would be closed.
Correct.
So you would have some way, kind of like Kofa, like you come in and out the same.
Correct.
Okay.
But the visitor parking all comes in off of Cesar Chavez.
No, it's off the unbuilt road, right?
Jefferson.
Jefferson. Yeah.
Okay.
Jefferson.
But there is an exit onto Cesar Chavez.
Correct.
Thank you.
So Mr. Thompson, both exits onto Cesar Chavez right now working with the city are right-hand turn only. So you exit, you have to go south,
Okay.
in part so that your 16-year-old drivers are never turning left on the main road. And they're down at a light, so.
But our over 30 drivers will still try it.
Yeah, have you ever turned into a Chevrolet?
It's the truth.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Thompson, for that clarification. So on the public entrance, I would like to describe these kind of 3 options. One is an open lobby. So as a parent, I come in, I sign in at the front desk, I'm like, hey, I gotta pick up my kid, or visit the principal. And this option, I can then, after I've signed in, I get my little sticker, I can go left through those doors into the campus, or I can go straight and see Mr. Arvizo, right? I'm not trapped in that room. I just sign in and there's a nice lady at the desk, or guy. The second one, B, is a secure vestibule. So that person at the desk is out there in the open, so it's very inviting and open that way. But I can't get past that person until they buzz a door. So if I'm a bad actor and I'm in that room, I can't get past that person. Normally the glass doors have bullet resistant film on them. And in the case of Tillman Middle School that's pictured there, the entire desk is actually bullet resistant as well. So as a person at the front desk, I'm warm, I'm inviting, you can walk in, chat with me. But if you're a bad actor, I can duck down, press the panic button, and have that layer of security. Again, it's like rings of an onion, right? The desk is my last ring of my onion if I'm the front desk person. And then the C option, I like to call bank teller, because we're all familiar with that, right? The glass keeps it kind of bright and light, so it's not, terrible that way, but you do have that added layer of protection. In this case, it also has bullet resistant film, so that there's another step between people checking in and the front desk. And in this case, again, I would have to press a buzzer to let you in, and then you can go past me to the nurse or to Mr. Arvizo's office. Do those 3 options make sense? I've worked with communities that have told me definitely the bank teller. I've worked with communities that say, my folks have been in bad law enforcement situations and the bank teller is very off-putting. So there is, again, it's no wrong answer. It's where you feel like your community can be. I know at Tillman, we also, they have a huge immigrant population, actually 39 languages spoken there. And we have to put conference rooms off of that vestibule so that if you're someone who doesn't feel comfortable going through the Raptor system or the ID checking system, you can still meet with Mr. Arvizo in a conference room, have a little privacy, but never make it onto campus. So that was kind of one of those things. If you know things about your community that you feel would make them feel more welcome and part of the school, no matter what their situation is, I'd love to hear about those as well.
I have a question about crowd control. I think we've all been in high schools at specific days of the year where there's like swarms of people. And did one of these models lend itself to better crowd control after COVID?
Yeah, definitely B or C.
B or C.
Because A, right, you're handling sign-in and late students, and then next thing you know, somebody's just slipped through the crowd and who knows where they are. So I would say B or C because you definitely have to buzz them other than watching to make sure only one person goes through the bus door.
And in B, we have more than one person available to sit at that vestibule.
So this happens to be a middle school, and we had two workstations at that front vestibule. In a high school, it could be 2 or even 3, depending on the size.
So I'm trying to think of sort of separating out, like attendance would be over here and athletics would be over here. Do you have an idea, Mr. Arvizo, what?
Yeah, you know what, after seeing these options, I've seen these before, I'm more of, and again, I guess I gotta study this a little more. I'm more of an open, inviting type of individual to come in, and I'm more of the A type of situation, versus, plexiglass or bulletproof glass or anything like that. I think as a community, if I was a parent and I walked in, I'd feel more comfortable and more inviting in an open lobby. And you're right, there would be, different areas for different departments that, if you're in athletics, well, athletics is over here, why do you have to wait in the lobby and get buzzed in to go actually still see athletics at this point in time? So those are my initial thoughts. I guess you can put yourself in the shoes and you're walking into a campus, into a school, which would you rather see, A, B, or C? I can see from the security standpoint, as far as buzzing in, but as far as a more inviting, with the community and things, I tend to lean towards the open lobby. But I don't know what.
I agree with you, I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, anything can happen at any time, but Somerton is, knock on wood, I don't think it'll ever happen.
Right.
And I like A better for that same reason.
Yeah.
I think we've all been to the, let's say, Circle K, that's completely bars everywhere. And one in, one out, that's horrible. So I'm gonna say C is out, right?
Yeah.
That is the most uninviting.
Right.
It is so secure, it might as well be a prison, and below that, I don't like that at all. I'm with you, I like A, that's how my house is built. Come on in.
Okay.
Yeah,
come on in, we're here to help, how can we help you?
Yeah, so A would be my first choice, and if that needed a little more than maybe B, but A would be my first choice. This is a school, I know we have problems, but.
Well, and to sort of copycat off your terminology, bad actors, like in Sandy Hook, got buzzed in anyway. So it's not foolproof, and so for the rare instance that might be necessary, I agree with what you're saying. I like it.
Okay, I'm no Shannon.
If you don't agree with us, you can't.
I was trying to disagree just for the sake of disagreeing.
That's me.
Actually,
That's David.
sometimes he's 5-0. Is there a way on the open lobby, because I do prefer that, but is there a way to have some type of immediate lockdown button behind the counter for that opening, for that front door, in the event that it needs to be a lockdown, that the person sitting behind, or people sitting behind here would have access to actually lock down? And then, again, knowing the cost of retrofit, I would still like to see the bulletproof glass on the front and all access point doors. Because I don't want to be the one time that we needed it and didn't have it. I don't think we're ever gonna need it anyway, but I doubt that anybody that's ever had anything happen thought that they wanted it, so. It's just, to me, it makes more sense to put it in on the front side, but definitely a way of locked down. That's not secret somewhere that our personnel would know how to access it.
So, if you picture A, you know, those doors on the left that lead into campus could be on a lockdown. Absolutely. As well as the front doors that I just walked in as a parent. And that bullet resistant film, if you didn't know it was on a window, you would never see it. So it can be, like Tillman happens to be like frosted, like a shower door, but it could be totally clear. So nobody would know that's going on. Just like bullet resistant front desk, nobody will ever know except the people in this room and everybody else live stream.
You know, this gets played over and over again.
Carmen, I have a question. So are you saying that it would be like a combo of A and B?
Yeah, hybrid of A.
Yes, or A and B.
Well, let's not say hybrid. Yeah, you know, just the front doors as we have them, that the personnel that are actually on that front, I hate to say front line, but it is the front line, that they have control over that, or that security could radio and say, hey, somebody just went past me in this car and this is bad, or whatever, just so that I feel like sometimes these secret buttons and these lockdowns are in places that the people who actually would know when it needs to happen don't have access to it. And then the glass, we've already gone through, just trying to, it's just, you know, it helps our employees to take ownership over their own safety as well, rather than just being out there.
One thing we've been able to do is the same card readers that let you into a building, there are reverse card readers. So you scan your card reader and it walks down the school. And sometimes we've put that at like a really low level, like 15 inches off the floor in part so you don't accidentally walk down the school. But also if you're ducked down, that's a really easy way. And you're not hitting a button with your like knee by accident. You know, you can take your card reader and go like that and know how to do it. So it might be an option as well.
Sounds cool. Keep looking for my card.
You don't get one of these.
Or not getting one.
We
I've
don't
learned the
trust
hard way, just do not put a button right under the desk, because everybody's knee will hit that about every 3 minutes. Go for it. So, thank you. The other thing we did not talk about today, but I know on your campuses, you do invite SROs on the campus, right, Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
And we had talked about them not being necessarily in the front office, but, you know, have a small space, but really you want them out and about across your campus, correct?
Yes.
Your approach.
Yes, because their purpose is law-related education. So they do a really great job of being out and about, yes.
I want to say too, I'm really glad that we're having a nurses station, because it wasn't that many years ago, we actually had the discussion, I think Bruce was on the board then, had the discussion about eliminating school nurses. And I think that would have been a mistake, and I still think it would have been a mistake, and I'm glad that we're emphasizing the nurses station and location there.
Full disclosure, my mom was a school nurse. My school nurses get a little better space than that. Thank you. That is a big part. I know last time you asked about COVID, if I can take just a couple minutes, a couple things we've talked about as a design group. One is, right, that easy nurse access to the outside I mentioned. Also, the second isolation room for the nurse is really important that we're finding. And hopefully, by the time the school opens, we're not talking about this anymore, but it, you know, it can be great for flu. It can be great for other things that can happen. Mr. Arvizo talked about how the restrooms, we're already talking about how can you pop open the doors during the day so that you have that safety and security. You can hear what's going on in there, right? But then you also are not touching doors, and we all know that's one of the big transmitters of colds, even common colds. Jay and his staff have talked about, instead of a giant unit that serves the entire school, like a chiller, that then when it goes down, the entire school goes down, doing package units that, serve 8 classrooms or 6 classrooms. And each time that bubble gets smaller, the transmission gets smaller in how germs can circulate through the air. So we're thinking about that as well, both for long-term maintenance and energy control costs and COVID right now. So it's kind of some combination. Then of course, more hand washing sinks, the flow into a cafeteria and out of cafeteria, and how do you make those things super available so you don't have to like ditch your friends and go wash up and be that kid, right? You can just flow with everybody else and it's super easy. So those sorts of things along with sanitizers we'll get into more as we go. But were there any other, since it's on everybody's mind, any other COVID questions?
Well, this is not necessarily COVID, but I'm sure, I'm positive that you have all thought of the students' tomfoolery or whatever you want to call it. And in your security measures, making sure that nobody pulls that school prank and locks down the school, something like that. And I just wanted to make sure that was great.
Yeah, the card readers reverse lockdowns are great for actual lockdowns because every teacher and staff member could use them, but students can't. Unfortunately, I think everybody can still pull a fire alarm. Do the kids still do that?
Well, there's ways to not have fire alarms, so
You don't want
definitely look into that.
There's a will. Thank you.
Great questions.
Any other questions?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a great presentation. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for letting us
Mrs. Thompson, did you have anything else?
No, I just really thank not only the LR group and Bill and Liz, but and of course the MC, Mr. Lisa. It's just been really excellent working with Carmen. She always has students first and comes up with ways for being so inclusive, and having gone through several large construction projects, the inclusivity of not just staff but students has been amazing. And it is sad that she didn't get to follow the kids around this time of year, but the fact that she still made this happen and really focused on the kids with summertime dresses, I think was awesome. And I don't know if you heard her talk about, really heard it, but when she talked about one of our goals is recruitment and retention, that was one of the things that impressed me about Carmen prior to even starting this project, was she already knows our goals and our mission and the things that we talk about regularly. It feels like she is part of our staff, as well as Ryan. And of course, Bill, he is, he's just here.
He's in every meeting.
He is. So I just really feel so fortunate to work with people that are not just committed to building a building and let's get this project done, but just take such great pains and time to make it about what the community of Somerton, what students and staff really need and value. And thank you for really having people at the heart rather than bricks and mortar. It's very rewarding. Appreciate you very much.
Is there anything further? Not? Is there a motion to adjourn this work session, and then we'll move and go into a regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
No.
4-1, we are adjourned.
He wants to talk about the fields, that's why.
Thank you again.
Thank you again. That was a marvelous presentation.
Thank you for being
Can I
here.
share stories?
Take the
Are we,
mic. We're gonna go over to our regular,
okay.
Yeah, take your
so
microphone.
take the microphone.
If you're watching on the live stream, we're going to transition to the boardroom and join our special meeting in about 5 minutes. So we, again, are transitioning from one room to the next, and give us about 5 minutes to get everything back and going. Stick with us on the live stream.
Thank you so much.
We're good.
Are we ready, board? We'll call this special meeting, the Yuma Union High School District Number 70 Governing Board to order. Item on the agenda is discussion and possible action regarding the hybrid learning model. Mrs. Thompson, would you lead us in this?
Yes, President Townsend, governing board members, thank you, and thank you for convening this evening. This has definitely been an exceptional year for everyone, parents, students, and all staff. It was really helpful back in September. We had some really great weeks where our COVID metrics were in the green, and it looked like we were going to be able to go to 5 days being open. And since that time, unfortunately, and I'm going to be very blunt, due to inappropriate behaviors throughout the county, COVID spread has become a huge spike. I hope to continue to lead, and I do feel like we're at war on a daily basis, so I hope to continue to lead the fight to ask our community to please help us, instead of arguing, to come together in the one place that I believe can make things happen in a positive way, and that's Yuma, Arizona, and I have always believed that, since that's why I have stayed here. But it's really disappointing to me as a superintendent, as a parent, that we continue to have to ask for the most simple of behaviors. So tonight I'm having to come with a recommendation to move back to full remote learning. That is not where I want to be, that is not where our students want to be, and that certainly is not where parents want us to be. And I hope for all those that are already starting to be upset and have words to say, that we will silence ourselves for a moment and think about the adult behaviors. We're going to go through some data today and share with you just the most recent. I want to tell you that it is so unnerving to go into a meeting and within an hour and a half to know that we have just had more exposed and COVID positive tests in our district within an hour and a half. This is not a debate anymore. It never was. And adults have made it a debate. And let me be clear, this is an adult problem. My students, our students, wear their masks when they are on our sites. Our students are respectful of their teachers in the classroom. And our staff are fighting the professional career life every single day, just to try to perform for every student. No, we are not perfect, but we are begging for community support. I don't know what else we can do, and I am sorry to bring the recommendation, the very strong recommendation forward that we go back to remote learning. But I am completely finished apologizing for it. This community is putting themselves and our children at risk every single day because of our bad behavior. Nobody wants to keep students out of school. The students want to come back to school. I meet with a student advisory group every month. When I met with them today, again, my heart is just full every time I meet with students. Ms. Thompson, we know you don't want to do this, but what else can we do? Students are not the problem. And let me be very clear, the adults are the problem. So I don't know what else I can do as a superintendent other than beg, and I will. I'm not opposed to begging for people to help us get students back in school 5 days a week. That is our goal. That has been our goal since day one, and I truly believe we were close in September, early October. We were right there. Adults prevented that from happening. So tonight, Mr. Brands is going to go through our current data. I want to remind us again the reach of Yuma Union High School District. Over 11,300 students, 998 employees. Every single person is attached to a family, some multi-generational in their homes, many. A community of people who come to visit, a community of people who come here as migrant students and workers to work in our community. That is the beauty of Yuma, that we are so inclusive and we are so attractive and people come here. But right now, it is also a huge problem. Even if you do not have children in our schools, can you please wear your mask, wash your hands, and social distance, and help us get our kids back in school? My goal from day one has always been to have every student in school 5 days a week, and I continue to have that goal. But I will continue to bring the recommendations to stay remote if our metrics are in the red, if our hospital is having another COVID unit open, if we continue to have this spike. We are usually the place where people work together and everyone wonders how we make it happen. I was listening yesterday or reading somewhere, I know we're the best. I don't want to be the best at the spike of COVID. Right now, as a community, we are on point to be the highest, fastest spiking community of COVID. And I don't care whether you believe it or not, but that's the way it is, and that's going to affect people for years and years to come, and effects we don't even know. Fine if adults want to do that, but I won't put our kids at risk. And I won't be a part of super spreading as a superintendent. But my goal is to bring kids back 5 days a week, and I'm very, very proud of the work that we are doing. We have got to have the support and the cooperation from this community. I'm also very excited to have in the room tonight. She'll be formally introduced. I mean, she'll have like her dance and her poem and everything in December. But Ryan Quick is our project manager for safety officer, specifically for COVID-19. We are one of the first districts in this pandemic to be able to write and attract a great officer. We're thrilled to have her, so she's here tonight if you have questions specifically for her. But Mr. Brianza is going to take us through some very specific data, and thank you to our team, our nurses, our HR department. This is an ongoing process, and I would also just like to remind everyone that none of this was built for us. We had storms of guidance, but very little support in the way of doing the business. Everything you see before you is because Yuma Union High School District teams built the data collection process, and our campuses and teams work together very well. So, Mr. Brianza, can you take off for us here? Thank you.
So the first data set we're going to look at is on the second page. I put the packets together myself, so I have myself to blame. So it's really the second page we're going to go with, which is the total number of students who've had to self-isolate due to COVID issues just since we've been hybrid, September 14th through November 13th. Now, I have to tell you, Ryan's been on the job for 13 days now. Government board approved her, and she started November 2nd or 3rd or something like that. However, she's hit the ground running. We have some systems in place. It used to be there was probably 5 different people you would call in the district to get an answer. You might get 5 different answers. And now we have one person who can give everyone a consistent answer. At the same time, there's been some dashboards with the help of Jesus Garcia and with the guidance of Ryan that have been created. So we're now getting data that's either real time when it comes to staff, or every Friday that nurses will be inputting current data of the number of students who have had to go home to self-isolate because they're positive or because they've been exposed. And the guidance right now is 14 days for those students to be removed from school. So on the second page, which is now the first page, you'll notice that there's a grand total just since September 14th of 441 of our students who we serve had to leave campus. And these are students who are going hybrid. These are not students who are home with distance learning and learning virtually. These were students whose parents signed waivers and chose for them to come and attend our school. Now, they were exposed outside of school, or they were exposed by a student who maybe tested positive and the parents reported it to the school, which is one of the compliance areas of the waiver, and then we had to contact trace. And when I say we, it's the school nurses and it's the school administration that does the contact tracing. And if people were in close contact, which now, the best guidance, mask or no mask, within 6 feet for 15 minutes or more, and it's not a total of 15 minutes at one time, it's 15 minutes added up over the 24-hour period, those students have to go home and self-isolate. And so we have 441 just since November 13th to September 14th. The nurses have not inputted, well, one nurse has inputted as of Wednesday, which is today, but they're expected to do it every Friday. So this is a total just from this last Friday through cumulative total through the 14th. And you'll see that that's the number of students who chose to be here for hybrid that are no longer, or maybe some are back with us now. Okay? On the first page, which is the second page now, we are experiencing a huge staffing issue right now, believe it or not. This is updated daily by Ryan, and information is inputted from supervisors, whether they're directors or executive directors or principals, on the campus level or within our district of people, of the adults who are positive or exposed. And and then they have to work from home or can't work but still have to go home. You'll see that as a district, just since September 14th, we have 142, and it's broken out by campus, staff members who have been exposed and 22 that have been positive. Just since Monday, there's been 25 staff members who were exposed to COVID who now have to either work from home or be assigned to their home. And if they can't work, we have a sub. And then there's 6 staff members who are positive for COVID. This is just since Monday. So 31 of our staff members could be teachers, it could be student nutrition workers, it could be district office personnel, it could be administrators. It's staff members out of our 999 staff members or 998 staff members. So that affects all areas of our organization and affects student learning directly. In case you want to know about teaching positions, so this is in the classroom. It's broken out, and this is just a snapshot. And this was from September 17th. This is just a one-day snapshot of September 17th. Oh, I'm sorry, thank you, November 17th. I don't know why I was thinking September 17th. We're moving forward. November 17th, you'll see it broken out by school, but the grand total is there's 35 substitutes that we're currently using for COVID-related issues. And that's because teachers have been home, assigned to their home because they've been exposed, they're positive. So they may be home teaching, but we still need to have an adult, certified adult in the classroom watching the students. While those teachers are teaching virtually and displaying virtually, there has to be a certified staff member, which could be a substitute because they're certified, in the classroom, making sure the kids are safe and are on task. So we have 35 of those substitutes being used right now. We have another 18 substitutes filling long-term sub positions for teaching positions we could not fill. So that's a total of 53 substitutes we're using currently for COVID or just positions that we could not hire for during this pandemic. The scary thing is, and I get phone calls from principals all the time, hey, I'm short, I don't have any subs. And they're thinking outside the box. The principals are subbing, counselors are subbing, dropout prevention specialists are subbing, every available certified staff member is subbing. Librarians may be covering a period. Everyone it's all hands on deck. But in our district, we only have 85 approved subs. And when I say 85, those are, we use ESI, it's a third-party vendor, and these 85 subs are ones that signed waivers so they could come on our campuses and work. But these 85 subs, they're also subbing in, Gadsden, possibly, or Somerton, or District 1, or Crane. We share them. So we only have 85 possible subs to choose from, and we have 53 that we're using for long-term subs already, or COVID-like issues. So you couple that with just the regular, I have a doctor's appointment. My child's sick, so I'm going to stay home. Whatever the personal leave is, or FMLA, we are running out of subs. And what would we do last year at this time? We would maybe combine classes and have one teacher watch them. We would maybe put 3 classes in the auditorium and have one teacher watch them, 150 kids. But if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. I, as a building principal, I can remember days that I would sit in the cafeteria and I would have 3 classes in the cafeteria for periods 1, 2, and 3. Because we were out of subs, and the work that I should have been doing, I couldn't because I had to make sure the kids were safe and were on task with the sub plans. So we are facing a huge staffing shortage as well, which is obviously affecting the learning of our students, whether it's virtual or they're there for hybrid. So that's where we're at today. So we have, just like I said, today we were in a meeting, hour and a half later, get out, and there's 4 more people that had to be teachers that would have to have a sub tomorrow because they were either positive or exposed because they got their test results back. Or they reported that I was exposed to someone last night and they can't be around our students, they have to be home. So we have a huge staffing issue right now. San Luis is under school closure right now, and they will open up November 30th. we got lucky. Not literally lucky, he's in the audience, but we were very fortunate, I should say, because the subs because I did have a phone call from our principal, the principal, Healy Richard, called me, Principal Weir, and said, listen, I don't have staffing for tomorrow. I can't do it. I said, you're in luck. San Luis is closed. We have extra subs now. So the subs that were covering classes in San Luis, because the teachers were home because maybe they were exposed or positive or it's COVID related, they could still teach from home virtually. We didn't need anyone in the classroom anymore. So those subs went to Healy Ridge, went to Yuma, went to Kofa, went to Cibolo, went to Vista. So it actually saved us because we had a school closed. And I know it's sad to say, but the precious sub pool allowed us to spread the wealth across the district. So those are my data sets. I don't know if you have any specific questions. I do have Brian to answer COVID questions as well because I am not an expert. Brian is. And like I said, like Ms. Thompson said, in December she'll be introduced formally, but we did want her to be here tonight to answer any questions we may have about COVID with students and staff as well.
Any board members have any questions? Yes, Ms. Jackie?
Super surprising.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I know. Really quickly,
Yeah.
they're boring numbers. So 441 students, and you said that's only out of the hybrid. What's the total number of students doing hybrid across the district?
Well, we have over 6,000 waivers turned in for hybrid,
Okay.
but I can speak from personal experience as a parent. I do know friends of my children are not going hybrid anymore. They had turned in waivers, and we're seeing a trend across the district that our attendance numbers are going lower and lower and lower as, quite frankly, people are scared. And the fear sets in that if I go to school, I may be exposed. And it's not that the child doesn't want to be in school necessarily. Sometimes it is. But also maybe that one of their siblings has a existing health condition and the parents don't want possible more exposure and danger for their family.
Okay, second number, thank you.
Mhm.
Second question is on staff, the 142 are exposed and the 22 positive. Is that out of the 400 plus staff or is that out of the 1,000?
That's out of the 998. That is just staff in general. If you want to look at certified teachers, that's the graph below, and that's just a snapshot of one day of our certified teachers, where we have 35 that are out for exposed, positive, or they're working at home because there might be family issues that they have to be at home for because they may be in multi-generational homes or there are existing health conditions of themselves or family members.
And how many certified teachers do we have?
Just under 500, I believe.
Thank you.
You know, that 35 is actually 53.
Yeah, it's actually 53 because we have 18 long-term
Yeah,
subs.
you've got, so it's about a little over 10%, 12%, something like that, of our teachers.
And we have 85 subs that are able to work in a district because they signed the waiver in order to come onto district property and educate our students. And the scary thing is we have normal stuff that happens. You know, people take a day off for whatever reason, and you know that's a benefit of a personal leave, or they're on FMLA, whether it's intermittent or there's a birth of a child, whatever the case may be, or surgery, who knows? But that we only have 32 extra subs for 6 campuses. So,
And
yeah.
I would just also add, that's not necessarily just for our district, they
No.
could be subs in different districts as well.
Luckily, our rate, because the board approved the sub pay increase, you know, we might not have 85 that would want to work for us, but we were able to increase the rate of pay for subs. And I know that had a positive impact, as many subs reached out to the district and said, thank you, this is awesome. And, you know, they're working for us, but at the same time, we want to be competitive. But a lot of our substitutes, you have to realize, might be snowbirds that come down. They might not feel comfortable working in schools right now. They might be retired teachers from our district, and they don't feel comfortable. Or there could be someone, you know, young and healthy, but they have a loved one at home that they don't want to be exposing them to. So there's many reasons why the number is much lower than we would have last year at this time available to us.
Bruce? What, you know, there's opportunities and everything. This is lousy. The teachers have been horribly stressed out through this whole thing. I mean, they've been double teaming homework, in-house, etc. So I see a positive side of this, and maybe it's a bit of a respite, and they can get their energy back. But what's the return plan? What are the keys that we get back to? What do we need to do?
So just a couple of things before maybe we get to, how do we come out on the other side of this even better than we are now? The third page, which is in the right order, because it's the last one, just to give you an idea of what the schedule's gonna look like for if the board does approve for us to go back to distance learning, is instead of, if you remember back in the first 6 weeks, which was August and the first part of September, kids went periods 1, 2, 3 on Monday, periods 4, 5, 6 on Tuesday, Wednesday they didn't go to school virtually, Thursdays 1, 2, 3, and then Friday was 4, 5, 6. It's going to be periods 1 through 6, 5 days a week, matching the kind of like the hybrid schedule right now, 45 minutes. So they'll be with all their classmates and their teachers 5 days a week for 45 minutes each period. So there's actually going to be more time with the teacher, whether you're hybrid or virtual, with this new proposed schedule, which is a tweak to where we were in the first part of August. And we have 17 days of instruction left. And we have great confidence in our students and our staff that with this new schedule, that the content that the students are learning, they'll master the concepts and they'll be very successful. And there's more face time with the teacher. And they'll, quite frankly, speaking to students, one thing they liked about virtual distance learning is they can see all their classmates on the screen. And right now, if you're just doing distance learning, you only see whoever's there on Wednesday. That makes sense. But how do we come back to hybrid or 5 days a week? I think it would be looking at those metrics that are released every Thursday at 9 o'clock by the state of Arizona Department of Health Services. They put them out at 9 o'clock every morning. I'm on it every day at 9 o'clock or every Thursday at 9 o'clock. However, when they release them late at 9:01, 9:02, it seems like eternity because you just want to see where did we drop? Are we better off than we were the week before? But to answer your question, Board Member Gwynn, it's going to be looking at those metrics, the percent positivity for the community, and also the number of cases out of 100,000. Those are the two areas right now where we're just skyrocketing. I believe we're at like 194 out of 100,000, and the guidance is, and it's guidance, to be under 100, so we're almost double. And the percent positivity, we're at just like, I think 15.5 for community, and they want us under 10% for hybrid guidelines. That's a recommendation. The third metric that they want us to meet, we've been fine so far, is being under 10% for hospitalization for COVID-like symptoms or illnesses. And we've been sitting at around 3% for the last 3 or 4 weeks. But that will probably increase with the flu season as well, and the numbers in our district, or in our community, whether it's Somerton, San Luis, or Yuma.
So the recommendation is to return to distance learning. Is this recommendation to return to distance learning for the remaining part of the semester? Is it on a review, as reviewed periodically, or what is the recommendation there?
Yes, it's, the recommendation reads that it would be evaluated with the December and January COVID-19 metrics to determine if and when it is appropriate to move into some type of different offering. It is definitely the trend that following each holiday, there seems to be another spike in numbers. So we have winter holidays, and then we have a New Year. First we have Thanksgiving, where large groups tend to sometimes forget all those protocols, and that causes a spike in our data. So I really, I cannot speak to the when, other than I think it's important to be open to looking at the metrics, and as Mr. Brianza shared, that's something that we literally start waiting for the night before, hoping, to see that we're going in the right direction, but we just haven't. But the goal is to, at some point in the next semester, return to full instruction 5 days. But that is not in our control. If it were, we'd already be there, and that's up to the community control, and the metrics are about community, not Yuma Union. So that would be my recommendation as far as to determine when, not if, but when we come back.
Ms. Mellon, did you have a question?
I do, thank you. So did I hear that you gave sort of a few weeks into January you were gonna look, or, I'm sorry, I just was a little.
No, that's fine, yeah, I would anticipate so if great things are possible, I know they're gonna happen in Yuma. I'm hoping my begging and my pleading and those of my colleagues across all the districts has some kind of impact. But New Year's, for, the week and 2 weeks after New Year's, we would already be in session. But if our metrics are not such that we can come back, hybrid or otherwise, then we would stay remote until, that would be my recommendation, until our metrics are prove that we're safe.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And when are you talking about going into hybrid learning? What day?
My recommendation is that this Friday is our last day of hybrid instruction, and that Monday we begin in full remote. And I just want to clarify, I know 2 days doesn't, if it's 2 days, why can't we just finish those 2 days? I want to again reiterate that it's, whether it's COVID or flu or some other, epidemic or pandemic, if you don't have the staff, you can't safely run the school anyway. And so at this point, I do not feel as a superintendent that I can guarantee that your students that come to school are going to be met with a full staff, and that I won't have to cancel that day of school at one or more of our campuses simply because of, availability of adults.
Right, thank you. So of course, I think everybody in this room wants our students to go back 5 days a week. And I will encourage anyone who's watching or anyone who's here to go and look up their own statistics to see, prove to themselves what's happening. It's very eye-opening. And I did that yesterday and today. And the numbers you don't get the same numbers across every platform, which is a little frustrating. But I think that our school system is a little microcosm. I would love to think of it as, buildings that we have this giant fence around, but it's not. And so I respect everybody's opinions very, very much. And I understand the numbers before us and the reasoning why. And I just really want to encourage everybody to do everything that they can so that we can get these kids back into school as soon as possible. And I would love to see us looking at those numbers, and I know you're looking at them every week. But I would really love, what day do we go back from winter break?
January, what?
3rd, 2nd?
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay, so I would love to see us having another conversation right at that moment to say, okay, here's something to look forward to for our families, for our students. Because I know that this is going to be really a big depression and melancholy feeling for many. So I don't like it, but I understand it.
And I completely appreciate that, and completely agree with you, honestly. But the issue I continue to have is, as if I haven't been clear enough. If the adults don't get it together, it's not going to happen. So if students are truly our most valuable asset, and students are really, if this is really what we all want to have happen, I am pleading with the adults in Yuma County to do the right work and do the right thing and help us stop, not only slow it, but stop the spread and get kids back in school. But I cannot will that to happen. We cannot will it to happen, or it would have already happened. We need the cooperation of this community, and I know if it can happen anywhere, it's here, but that's what has to happen.
Can I call
Ms.
for
Mellon?
a question, or
There's no motion.
there's a
I
motion?
have-
Need a motion? Okay,
I have a question.
okay.
So, in all reality, there's not a quick fix for this. That's reality. So let's talk about the quick fix. What are our plans? And it seems like since the election, all of a sudden we've got two vaccines coming. If they show up and they're viable and everybody's happy, which I'll take that one back out, not everybody's gonna be happy, but they work, what are we gonna do? What's our plan? And I know there's other stuff, but let's say they're here, what are we gonna do?
Well, I'm gonna go get a vaccine.
Well, no.
No, our
If we
plan-
have them, they're available,
Yeah, that would-
requirement that kids all get vaccines, or if they don't get vaccines,
Well, I think that's a county health department question. I don't know that we have really any control over that. That's truly I don't know what would be available directly to students or if there's a level of, who gets the vaccine first. I don't have any.
Well, the last time I called the county health department for guidance at our restaurant, they said, go online, which just sent me right through the roof. So that doesn't help much. So are we working on a plan if the vaccine shows up? What would be the?
Again, if the vaccine, when the vaccine shows, again, it would help us to take our numbers down. And not all people will take the vaccine. It won't be available, to everyone, but.
So that's my point. Not everybody's gonna take it. So is there a plan for those that, you had waivers. They had to sign waivers to come back to school. Will there be some kind of a plan that says, hey, at least thinking about it anyways, because that's the only cure for this thing.
We have immunization rules in Arizona, and our nurses, quite frankly, we fight that every single year with many people. And I would assume that we would get guidance from county health directors and.
I'd like to make a motion
Go ahead.
that we approve the strong recommendation of Superintendent Thompson that Union High School District suspend hybrid offering on Friday, November 20th, with full remote learning starting November 23rd, 2020. The recommendation is that the superintendent will evaluate the December-January COVID-19 metrics to determine if or when it is appropriate to move into a different offering for instruction.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion has been made by Ms. Mellon and seconded by Mr. Lara, to adopt the strong recommendation of Superintendent Thompson that Yuma Union High School District suspend hybrid offering on Friday, November 20th with full remote learning starting November 23rd, 2020. The recommendation is that the superintendent will evaluate the December-January COVID-19 metrics to determine when it is appropriate to move into a different offering for instruction. Is there any further discussion?
My only question would be that the attendance process for the students when they go online and being held accountable, is that clearly going to be explained and again?
Yeah, it will be, and as well as the fact that it has to be because that was an approved plan by the Arizona Department of Education. So the way that we are doing it was approved, but we know that this has been a difficult time for students and motivation has been difficult for them. So we continue to strive for that as well. I really do continue to be proud that our students choose to stay connected, at a very high rate, probably one of the only in the state that are at, or just a little bit dropped in attendance, and staying registered with our district. So we know that our students are committed to staying connected to their campus, and their teachers and administrative staffs are determined to keep kids connected. And right now, being connected to something, at least it's a lifeline, and we know it's not enough, but that gives me hope.
And do we have any sort of leniency for the cohort B that would not be normally going to school Monday and Tuesday? Like, let's say that their families made plans for them to go somewhere and they weren't even gonna log on. Is there any sort of?
Yes.
So, the wonderful thing is, and once again, I'll put my parent hat on, I get a lot of emails from both my kids' teachers. Don't forget to do this, don't forget to do that. But if students are going away with their families and they weren't going to have internet access or they didn't have plans on logging on, they already made those plans. but hopefully they communicate with their teacher like, hey, I'm gonna be gone. Our teachers have been wonderful about allowing kids to redo assignments, to do them again, to take them late, to turn them in. When I say late, to extend the learning opportunity so they have every opportunity to demonstrate that they have the knowledge and mastery. So definitely, if any parent or child out there is not going to be connected for whatever reason, you know, let your teachers know so that way they know what happened to you and when to expect you to re-engage, so they can work with you and set up office hours in the afternoon so they can get you caught up if that's what you need to. So yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? I'm just deeply disappointed that we're at this point of having to make this decision. You know, we're in the business of educating kids. That's our business. Everything else is periphery. And I think that we're failing our kids. And by we, I don't mean this school district, I mean this community, because we're not following the rules and we're not doing a better job of controlling this pandemic. And I hope that the parents of these students who want their kids back in school, I as a grandparent of 2 high school age students going to our schools, know that they're struggling with this, and I'm deeply concerned about them. Mrs. Thompson will tell you, I've called and I don't think I've yelled, but I've spoken loudly about it many times. And, well, my family tells me I yell. That, you know, I am very disappointed that we're at this point, and we're not doing a service to our children. And it's heart-wrenching for me, but I don't see an alternative at this point. So with that, if there's no more discussion, we'll call for a vote. Do you want me to reread the motion or no? Okay. All in favor of the motion on the floor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And
President Townsend, Governing Board, thank you for that. I'm sorry to even have to run it forward, but as also further clarification, we will notify campuses this evening, and families and students will be receiving information directly from their campus so that they're aware of the change if they're not already watching this evening. But I continue to ask everyone as a parent and student to go back to your campus if you have questions, and they will help you directly, and that will be the communication circle.
Mr. Brett?
The question will be asked, what about sports?
Actually, AIA, I don't know if they've met today or when their next meeting is, but Mr. Brianza, can you clarify about AIA, please?
So the AIA is supposed to be getting, the executive director, David Hines, has recommended pushing the winter sports season into January, to start in January, which means practice and then competition would start sometime in January. The board has not met to take a vote on that yet. There's really, I believe, 4 counties in Arizona that could even do anything right now. Fortunately, I'll just say it, Maricopa can't. They didn't meet their metrics because we have to, the AIA, it's not guidance. They give clear rules. And you have to be at under 100% out of 100,000. You have to be at 10% positivity, things that we're not, but other counties aren't either. And Maricopa's not. So that really drives a lot of decisions by the AIA, you know. So once Maricopa didn't make it, there was a big push by school districts in that area to pressure the AIA into moving the start of the winter sports season. So they've listened, amazingly. So they are looking, I would say it's either, today's Wednesday, so hopefully they do it before Thanksgiving, to make a motion and a vote to push it officially to a start time sometime in January. So right now, with our extracurriculars, our students would pause the work on campus as of Friday, well actually I guess as of Saturday, because Friday will be the last day. And their coaches, if they're cleared and participating right now in tryouts or practice, the coaches can still work with them virtually and give them workouts to do at the home. But they would not be able to get together organized-wise until in January when we come back, and hopefully that's sooner than later. And also the AIA right now they haven't voted, but they will be making that motion. And with Maricopa not being able to do anything, pretty confident that it will be approved since the executive director brought it forward as well.
Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you all.